This may seem odd, but imagine a world where four forces act seamlessly as one. That's the power of netcentric warfare. One Navy, one Air Force, one Marines, one Army, one force. Northrop Grumman, defining the future.
From the Watergate building in Washington, this is Hotline TV. Now here are Hotline editors Chuck Todd and John Mercurio.
Oh, it's Hotline TV. I'm Chuck Todd.
And I'm John Mercurio. Today, we are stumping some conventional wisdom and calling some races. Let's start with the CW. Chuck, conventional wisdom says Democrats can't win back the House without winning seats in the nutmeg state of Connecticut. Go ahead, stump the CW.
I think it's not only possible for the Democrats to win the House without winning a single seat in Connecticut. I think it's very likely that they win back the House and not win a single seat in Connecticut.
So you now are saying that Nancy Johnson, Rob Simmons, and Chris Shays are favored for re-election.
I think I will be surprised if any of them lose at this point, even though they should lose. The environment says they should lose all this stuff, but no three, well, two, Nancy Johnson and Rob Simmons. Chris Shays is Chris Shays, but sure, in his own unique way. No three Republican incumbents have worked harder and have known longer how much trouble they were in than those three. So in some ways, you know, it makes sense for them to survive because they've worked so hard at it.
I mean, this is sort of this little triumvirate, this coalition, especially Johnson and Shays, who have been at this, you know, a lot longer than Simmons has.
But Simmons too has been through
Simmons has been at it because his district is always going to be competitive. Johnson's going to have more money than God, you know, coming out of this campaign or this fundraising.
But the DCCC continues to want to target her because it's a cheap media market.
But back to the CW. They are finding, I think, what you're talking about is this sort of post-Foley landscape.
And that's right.
The fact that we now have at least three new
House seats we can call races already, right? We Arizona 8, done. So there's a pickup. Now they're down
Especially
to 14.
After the Washington Post
Texas 22, down to 13. Florida 16, down to 12. Bob Nag, down to 11. Looks like Don Sherwood, down to 10. So all of a sudden, you've got the five sort of scandal-plagued guys. Done.
And they're you're also looking at other seats that Democrats weren't even talking about a year ago. Right. Florida 13, you're looking at Catherine Harris's
And that's
district.
real. That's not like some sort of smoke blowing.
No, that's an actual Democrat.
Extra seats in Ohio seem to be all over the place as the entire Ohio Republican Party crumbles. The three Indiana seats, which everybody seems to want to write off. You know, you start throwing
Ken Lucas is coming back probably.
I'm a little less convinced on that one than others. But Minnesota 6 Patty Wetterling finally has a reason for why a child advocate belongs in Congress. You know, she finally was able to.
I think that galvanized both sides on the issue.
Absolutely, and I still think it's a swing type of race. Iowa, we didn't even bring up Iowa 1 or Colorado 7. So.
And we haven't even talked about Monica Lindeen in Montana at large.
You and Monica Lindeen. You're gonna be.
Mark my words.
Yeah, she's coming, huh?
So yeah, post-Foley landscape. I think you're right. I think you don't need to start.
But we do. It is worth realizing how hard those three incumbents are. It's not. Look, Diane Farrell, Joe Courtney, Chris Murphy are three very good challengers. They've raised all the money. They've done everything you're supposed to do as a challenger, but they ran into three incumbents that worked just as hard as they did, and we're ready to go.
Prepared for this.
Look, they still may lose. Those three incumbents, if the wave is big enough, you know, one or two of them could lose, but. It feels like none of them are going to lose.
No, but just to focus what we're talking about, because I think we're
right. The fact they don't even need it.
I know. And the fact that coming out of the Democratic Senate primary in Connecticut in August, everybody said, oh, this is going to screw the Democrats' chances. They need these three seats in order to win. If all the attention and oxygen is focused in the Senate race, that's going to kill their chances.
And now none of it's...
The CW is upside down.
There you go. Also today, we're telling you which races not to follow anymore. John, call a race.
You know, just speaking of Connecticut Senate, we haven't talked about it in a while. It was so hot in August and early September.
Are you calling it?
Calling the race.
You're calling it
Ladies
for Ned Lamont already?
I'm calling it for Senator Joe Lieberman.
Oh, that is awesome. That is great. I can't wait till the bloggers get all of it.
I can't wait till the bloggers.
That is awesome. That is so good. We're going to get like 7,000 YouTube attacks on this one.
I have tremendous power and influence, and I wield it carefully, and I wield it to call the race in favor of Senator Joe Lieberman. I'm also going to call Colorado Gov for Democratic gubernatorial candidate Bill Ritter, which would, of course, if he wins and the Democrats hold on to the legislature, be the first time since, what year, Chuck? 1961?
1961 is a year
that Democrats have held held both branches of government in Colorado.
How about that?
Denver 2008.
Here it comes. Convention's coming, baby.
Stealing
Convention's
Chuck's words
coming.
out of his
You
mouth.
are. I'm just going to call one race this week. I always like calling a Senate race, so I'm just going to call Nebraska. I don't think
You're
we've
so lame.
I don't think we've
Why
I
do you
know.
call you? What
Because
did you call
I-
West Virginia last week?
That's right. I'm calling.
I'm calling good races.
I'm calling Nebraska. You are calling good races. Good for you.
All right, that's it. Don't bother paying attention to those races anymore.
But do pay attention to us. Well, actually, to me, not to Mr. I Hate Ned Lamont over here. And we'll tell you what to look for in the next 27 days. But until then, I'll be Chuck Todd.
And I'm John Mercurio. See you tomorrow on Hotline TV.